Did you know that when parents are asked what they would do if they had 1 extra hour every day, most parents say they would use it for sleep? Are you exhausted trying to balance kids, work, and play? Do you want more purpose and less monotony in your life? Do you get overly irritated, frustrated, and angry with your children? If you've answered yes to some of these questions, then I'm glad you're here. I know how busy you are, and I'm not here to take your time. I'm here to help you take it back. Close your windows, open your mind, and let's kick some ass. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kick-Ass Dad Passionate Parenting in a Volatile World. Yeah, we got a bunch of great stuff for you today. We're going to talk about what I've been up to, and it's been quite a bit in a very short period of time. We ran out of time last week for a couple spots, so I mentioned that we were going to be doing the Rad Daddy Family Drive, our interview with Steve Ferris, but unfortunately we ran out of time for that, so we're going to be doing that today. And the name of the podcast is Rad Daddy Family Drive Songs and Stories from the Road. And you'll know of Steve Ferris because he also did the artwork for this show, and he's just an amazing guy, and he's going to tell you all about his podcast, what it's about, and you're absolutely going to love it, and I definitely recommend you check him out. And we will have an awesome and uplifting story for you. We all know my feelings about the mainstream media, and we're not here for that. We're here to inspire, positive, promotes positive, and we're going to make some awesome stuff happen, and I got a lot to share with you. We've also got some great interviews coming up in the next couple weeks, and we'll talk to you about that as well. So let's flip it.
Dad, this is Lauren. What's up?
Alright, welcome back. So I've got to tell you, I'm pretty freaking exhausted. I closed the restaurant last night, and back up early this morning. We have something awesome that went on today. We broke ground on our community garden here in our neighborhood, and my wife keeps saying it's groundbreaking, because one of the things that we found to be groundbreaking was that we're actually doing a community garden in a residential neighborhood right behind the community pool, which is a huge thing for us. I just don't see it very often, and my idea is for it to spread. We've been working on this for quite a while now. From about 9 months ago, I mentioned it to my community, and about 7 months ago, I went to my first board meeting to talk about it. And it really is, these things are actually pretty simple when you know the formula, because a lot of people told me that I wouldn't be able to do this. This is something that they were not going to go for, and I definitely felt that when I first approached it. And so here's the formula for attaining big goals. It's number one, it's to create the mental intention and to affirm it. So I'm thinking about what I have a vision, I have an idea, and I've got to create that intention to follow through and create the affirmation. Know exactly what I'm going to do, put a plan on paper. Affirmation is not just, I am going to do this. It's putting a plan on paper, writing out what it is you're going to accomplish. And so I wrote this development plan, and if anybody's interested, you can email me and get me the community garden development plan that I submitted to the board of directors. We're going to create an entire part of the website where it's going to show you how to go from 0 to 100 on creating a community garden in your residential area. And here's the big part, and this is what I think a lot of people miss, is your why has to be big enough, because oftentimes we set little goals, and the reason that we don't accomplish little goals is because we don't have a big enough reason. We don't have a big enough why. So for me, I really had to come up with, okay, so, and the garden idea was actually born out of a bigger why. And if you have these large visions and ideas and dreams, then you can put more energy into little goals that get them done along the way. Because if I was just interested in gardening, well, then I would have put a garden in my house, right? So my bigger vision was to get my community together, start bringing people together. And then my bigger vision beyond that, my bigger why beyond that, is to get community gardens in residential areas everywhere. And my bigger why behind that is because I believe it's so important, and people can get out from away from the negativity on the television and start talking to the people that are in their neighborhoods. And that's what creates energy and life and understanding within people. And my bigger why beyond that is to transform the American landscape and get into inner cities and create community gardens in inner cities, and create this web of interconnectivity that is about food. Because what's more inclusive than food? We have country, we have politics, we have religion, and those things are all fine and great, but everybody can't be included. Everybody can't be French. Everybody can't be a Christian. Everybody can't be Republican. But what everyone does is everyone eats, and everyone shares common ground, and everyone shares common connection. We all seek connection, and we all want our voices to be heard. And by getting people out of their houses and into the garden, we begin to build that common ground. And those are the things that create community, that create country. And those are the things that bind us. And if we can get back to those things, then I think we're going to be a whole lot better off as a society, or the culture in particular that you live in. So the community garden for me was an extension of my big why. It's an engaging and interacting with one another. It's gardening. I'll do the tomatoes and the zucchini and the squash, and you do the basil and so we can all focus on a different thing. And then when I have extra of this and you have extra of that, then we just share. And when we can get that, really to become a mainstream idea, then that's half the battle right there. Because when you get people on common ground, working towards common good, common achievement, then that's what creates that common ground. And so for me, I really had to identify what that big, huge goal was. And I've always been, and I know I've told you this before, but I've always been a huge history buff. And I've also shared with you before that I'll go to Epcot or Disney, and I'll go to the Hall of Presidents, and I will literally cry just because I'm so passionate about our democracy and where this country has come from. And I think that a lot of times we get far removed from these sorts of things. So, part of my idea is that we've got to bring community back to America, and that's how we restore the noble promise of what our forefathers said we could be. And I believe that the American neighborhood needs to be a true functioning community. We need to recreate the way we live because we're so far removed from one another's lives. We need thoughtful infrastructure that connects people that live together. And with social networks, we have so many social networks that people are more connected than ever, and the internet has done wonders to create a connected global community, which I love, but very little to engage the neighborhoods in which these people actually reside. And it's important to inspire people to get engaged, not just online, but within their actual communities they live in. It's not a glamorous job, but the value in it, and not just intrinsic value, but like feel good value of getting out there and working side by side with your neighbors. I'm telling you, I've never experienced so amazing. And it can actually be a very simple, systematic endeavor, and people within their communities can meet on bi-weekly basis or monthly basis to create boards and consensus around what they can do, not only to beautify the community, but to connect people in a meaningful way. And for us, this garden is just the beginning of that. And it's critical that these groups have no, political or religious affiliation. Like, go home to your religion and bring back the love. And I'm not saying don't be religious or don't be political. Those things are important, especially if they're important to you. But that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to create unity, right? Not bipolar, or not to polarize people. It's to get them all on the same page. And those organizations need to be outside of politicized bounds. Our forefathers knew the selfish nature of political gain and dogma, and that is what can cripple and polarize and create divisiveness within diverse groups of people. Sustainability has been used as such a buzzword lately in our society, and it's kind of lost a little bit of meaning. But what sustainability is, it's really simple. It's the ability to create lasting results with minimal negative consequences to the systems they encompass. So in English, positive change breeds positive results for the most people involved while limiting pollutions and things like that. So any negative byproduct or consequence creates non-sustainable entities. And I see so many people who are so afraid of like an impending apocalypse, and they prepare by like hoarding food and weapons and guns, and which is, if you're one of those people, cool, do your thing. I just want to share with you the power of community and connection, as opposed to shutting down and making yourself smaller and arming yourself to the teeth. What do you think might happen if you made a shift and actually thought about, what if I connected with more people? What if I engaged with more people? What if I was more loving to more people? What if I was less critical of people? What if I judged people less and I created more alignment in the communities we actually live in, and get ourselves on the same page? And I've found that, food is incredibly inclusive. Growing is incredibly inclusive, because the power of the many we can move mountains together. We can solve world problems. We can solve hunger. These are things that we can do together. And sustainable agriculture within communities is a key driver that unites people. You can use that food for cooking classes. My wife's actually doing a 4-H class where she's going to do cooking classes for kids, and then we'll use some of the community garden vegetables for that, and then they get to taste homegrown food and cook with it. And it's like getting hands back into the earth, getting back to simplicity, creating something special that is valuable to the people around us. And when we create this unity and community within a neighborhood, an actual neighborhood, residential neighborhood, we can start thinking about neighborhoods as communities. And people love to be a part of something. People strive for connection. They love being a part of a governing body that is transparent and honest, and then begin to impact each other's lives, and we create something that is good for everyone. And oftentimes these grandiose ideas, we go, oh, this is too big, this is too much, how much difficult must it be to lead these products and projects? And it's not. The opponent of this kind of thinking will say that there's no way to really create this in a long-term way, and I think that's false thinking. I think it is a thought failure in the least, and a root cause of the degradation of society at the most. We have the opportunity to find ways to come together in our neighborhoods and get engaged and have impact on people's lives, and have them have impact on people's people's lives who live around them. And the human species is a social, tribal. We're tribal by nature. People seek connection, and I think that the disenfranchisement and the degradation of the American society is partly propagated by those who, it's the media, it's politics, it's greed, and it's kind of stolen our sense of connection. And we're all here together, folks. That we either all rise together or we go down together. And we get a bit stuck in our old beliefs and our ingrained ideas about how the world works, and we lose focus on the things that really matter, and we get diluted with so much junk in the news, and too focused on what separates us. And instead, let's focus on what unites us: food, connection, love. The separation is what creates an extraordinary amount of injustice in the world. It's time to get back to acting locally and thinking globally. And what is it that we want to see on the world stage? And what do we want to see from our friends and our families around the world? If we're not acting in ways that are in sequence and in step with greater understandings, visions, ideas that we choose to see from others around the world, then we're not doing what we could be doing, and to make that impact. You can't want it, and then expect somebody else to do it. It's important to step up and be the change we wish to see in the world. And by acting in ways that reflect love and understanding and abundance for everybody, then that's how we can start to make that shift. And instead of jumping into political ideologies and social ideologies and ways of thinking that are exclusive, maybe we could think in ways that are inclusive and start including people of different religions and different backgrounds and different countries and different ideas and different colors and different perspectives on life. Because as we get sucked into this bipolarization and we hate the other guy, then we're just as much a part of what is perpetuating negativity in the world than we are being a part of the solution. And it comes from thinking a different way and kind of shutting. I read the 4-Hour Work Week, and Tim Ferriss talks about going on a low information diet. So stop listening to all the hustle and bustle of the world. Stop listening to everybody arguing about everything, because that distracts you from coming up with a clear plan, a clear focus for what you can do to create more love and understanding and abundance in the world. And this is something that I'm passionate about, and that's why I share it with you. Again, it's about creating, we all have these ideas, and for them to become big, hairy, audacious goals, we need to make our whys bigger and allow ourselves to dream a little bit and daydream about what it is that we believe we can impact in the world. So it's taking that affirmation and acting on it, even if it's uncomfortable, even scared. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified to start this community garden, but I knew it was something I was passionate about. My why was big enough, so I was willing to get uncomfortable. I was willing to invite neighbors over who I've never met before. I remember going to bed the night before. I had the first group of neighbors come over who were interested in the community garden who I'd never met before, and I remember just that sinking feeling in my stomach, like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And that's okay. That's part of the process. That fear, that stepping into your uncomfortable zone, that moving into the unknown. That's what gets us where we choose to go if our dreams are big enough, if our whys are big enough. Again, if you're trying to plug in and do something small, a lot of times we don't accomplish small goals because there's not enough energy behind them. There's not going to be enough passion behind them. And if you have big, giant goals, then at least you know what you're fighting for. At least you know why you're getting up early and going to bed late. And if it's important to you to start living your dreams, to move towards what it is that you truly, in your heart of hearts, believe in, then follow that formula, create the affirmation, come up with a plan, and act on it. Even if it's not perfect, don't get into analysis paralysis. Give yourself permission to get out there. Nobody wants to be the first to step on the dance floor, right? But nobody's going to dance unless you do. So that's my challenge to you today. Figure out your big, hairy, audacious goal and dance. Flip it.
Hi, this is Jay Forty from The Greatness Zone. You are listening to Mike Mataluni on the Kick-Ass Dad Show.
All right, welcome back. I've got an awesome guest here with me today. His name is Steve Ferris. He is the creator of Rad Daddy Books. He produces ebooks such as Eat a Booger, End the World, My Vacation to Planet Earth, and The Brave Little Ball. He lives in Sweden and does graphic design. And if you're listening to this podcast, then you've absolutely seen some of his artwork already, as he did the artwork for this show. In addition, he's rocking out his own podcast. It's called the Rad Daddy Family Drive, Songs and Stories for the Road. I have listened to it. I love it. So make sure you check that one out. And welcome, Steve.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you. And been working close with you since I launched my podcast. So it's great to have you here on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So one of my first questions, I found you after you emailed me, and I checked out your website. It was really cool, and it's so different. You have the Eat a Booger in the World. It's kind of this twist on childhood entertainment. What was your inspiration? What was kind of your focus going into these ebooks and then now into your podcast?
Well, I think since I was like 13, I knew I wanted to get into some kind of media, and as I got older, I realized what I want to do is create and propagate culture. Then that comes with everything that I am. And part of me is just a little bit warped. I don't like to hide it. And I think that's something fun about being a kid. I mean, if you have kids are just nuts. They're wild. They get into trouble. And it's just like, they don't think. And sometimes there's a part of me, I think I just I let loose the reins a little bit. And so sometimes I like to go against conventional wisdom. What's the best practice for making kids' books? Maybe not having them about boogers, but I thought it'd be fun to go there. Plus, I had a kid who was eating his boogers, and I was like, I hate this. I absolutely hate it. So I was like, cautionary tales. That's always been a trick we've always used. Let's go ahead, take it to the extreme, and tell my kid if he does it, the chances are he could end the world. So we had fun with that, and he's in the book, actually. He plays the character Earl, who is this kid that sets off this chain of events. And So yeah, I do it really much because it entertains me, and I just enjoy creating. If I can create something that no one else has done before, do it differently, that's what I want to do.
That funny. It reminds me of my great grandmother or my grandmother-in-law when she was with us, and when my kids would do something wrong in her house, she would literally tell them that if they did that, they would get eaten by a bear.
The bear, classic. Yes.
I never saw that bear, but I'm sure it's out there.
Somewhere waiting for somebody. It's hungry now. It hasn't eaten any kids yet. No, I had a similar thing. I had a time when I was a youth care worker for these at-risk teens, and I really had a really great time working with them, and to be in a relationship where I'm helping them kind to recover from really terrible situations, or maybe they had done some really bad things and they were kind of getting back into the swing of life. And so it was more like a big brother relationship I had with a lot of these kids. And so I could tease them. I had that permission to do that. And so I would be like making food for these kids and stuff like, it's lunchtime, here we go. And someone like complain like, I think you burnt this French toast. And I would laugh and say, when the famine comes, the picky eaters are the first to die. Of course, there's always the kids like, what's a famine? And then the other kid just laughs like, whatever.
Right. I mean, it's survivalism of the fittest. I mean, we have to. That's awesome. That's cool. What? So you worked with you were kind of a big brother to and mentored youth. That's great. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was soon after I was married, and I was slicing bagels at Panera Bread, and I was like, I gotta do something better than this, right? And this through friends and people hearing about what I was doing, I've had a good connection, got me into a residential treatment facility, and so I didn't really have any experience with that, but I got in there, and then they put me in the lockdown facility where these kids they were safety risks to themselves or to others. And so it was really a big, and it was very intense for a lot of them, coming into almost like junior prison. But it was very soft. It was very much therapeutic based, a lot of, one-on-one care and just learning how to build healthy relationships, setting healthy boundaries, and making sure everyone's treating themselves and each other properly. And then they would graduate out of our program into another part of the campus where they would continue working on their more specific issues, whether it was substance abuse or other things like that.
Wow, that's wonderful. You and I are kind of kindred spirits. My wife and I actually did some foster parenting, and we worked with kids that were at risk and drug issues and abuse issues. So that's pretty cool. I look forward to talking more about that in the future.
Yeah.
So you talk about, you're doing your ebooks, you're working on your podcast. I can sense this bigger vision. Like people know, my listeners know that I have this BHAG, right? Like I'm looking to get into downtown communities, help at-risk youth, create community centers and community gardens, things like that. What's your? I see this trajectory for you. What's your trajectory?
I got a BHAG. I got one too. I had this chance to work with a couple friends. They were doing a small children's production. And when I was helping out for a couple of days, seeing if there was a place for me, it didn't really work out, but I was able to get in there, and I saw so many of my passion areas overlapping. Just story writing, characters. I like puppets also. They had some puppets. There was also music and musicians working together, and there was a lot of art and computer graphics in there. I was like, this is so many things that I like to do, all converging in one place. And that kind of just brought back some memories I had of when I was, a young teenager. Like, I want to make children's entertainment. Because part of the reason is I've been an artist, but I don't really take myself seriously as an artist. I don't take myself seriously as a musician. I'm a musician also. I don't take myself seriously as a writer because I can't keep a straight face and do this stuff. It's not that I don't think it's good. It's just that I'm like, you probably don't want to hear heart-gripping things from me because most people, we have enough of our own stuff to deal with. I was the guy, like, I don't know. I love poets are great. I love poets. I love that stuff. I can appreciate it all. But, when someone else comes out there, sometimes you're not in the mood to hear the guy crying in the microphone. Right. Or if you're at the party with your friends and this dude takes out his guitar and like, okay, I got this real emotional song for you. Everyone quiet down, listen to my heart. I'm like, we're just having fun over here. Maybe you could ease up. So I was always more kind of like the ease up kind of crowd, and so everything I've done has always had this humor or this light feel to it, and so children's entertainment just really resonated with me. I was like, this is something I can do. I can do this. It's a creative challenge for me. And now that I'm a father, I have two sons who are 6 and 3. No, gosh, they're 7 and 4, and I have one more coming in October. So I'm like, okay, I got kids. I'm a dad. I'm the perfect guy to do this. I can make this stuff for my kids. So, and that's where I'm at now, making kids stuff.
I love that, and I love how you talk about like not taking yourself too seriously. And then what really struck me is when you said the age of your kids, because I just did this the other day. I was at 4-H, and like I had to fill out the form that says when what grade they're in, or no, it was age, and I was like. And I'm sitting here about down at it, filling it out, and looking it up at my kid, and looking down and filling it, and I'm like, shoot, she's 8 or 9. It's one of the two, and I know it. And I'm like, what kind of kick-ass dad am I? Like, I don't even know how old my kid is.
Yeah, I know. I remember growing up, I used to always tease my mom, give her a hard time because there's 3 of us kids. And she could seem to always never get our names right. And it got to where she just got tired of trying. Just like, Billy. And none of us are named Billy. She just call out Billy. She just get frustrated, like, Billy. And so I used to tease her, for not, where there's only 3 of us. And now I do the same thing. I have 2 kids, and I do the thing still.
I do it too. I'm like, roar. And then you're like, you know who you are. I'm looking right at you.
You. That's right. You with the funny look on your face.
You with the guilty conscience. What about, okay, so that's great stuff. What was and I know that we all have these kind of things where we're like, where we're going along as a parent and we think we're doing a good job, and then we're just like, we're kind of and then like you get this like kind of aha moment. Have you ever had an opportunity where you just like were really frustrated or something happened to you, and then you just had this aha moment as a parent?
I think, shortly after, I'm from South Bend, Indiana, and just last year, a year and a half ago, we moved to Stockholm, Sweden. And the parenting culture is definitely very different, just in the society. And there was a lot of I had to do a lot of just relearning some things, and maybe not so much learning. It was just kind of adapting. I had to adapt to the culture that I was in. Just to make things easy for everybody, and so there were some things that I had to leave out of my American parenting toolbox when I came over here, and actually, what it caused me to do was to challenge myself more with my solutions for dealing with my kids, for teaching and for correcting all this stuff, and so I actually had to use more of my brain. And think ahead a bit more, and prepare myself, and not just this happened, now reflex, here it goes, here.
So you're just for my audience's sake, you're not saying that Americans use less of their brains, right?
No, I mean, because the culture that I was in, I changed the culture that I was in, and it demanded that I had to change some things, and just how we're interacting within our family and out in society. And so I had to think about it. Before, I didn't have to think about it,
Like what specifically? What was different? Like how did you have to parent differently?
I'll say from where I'm from, the parenting culture it's a little bit more heavy-handed, a little bit more stern, a little bit more I'm the parent, you're the kid. I just said this, do it, jump, here come, watch out, here I come. It's just kind of I was just kind of raised that's just okay, you're a kid. Okay, what do you have to say? I don't care. I'm the parent. Sit down. And so now I have to really take some time to understand where my kid's coming from, so I can it's more preventative, because I can't just react and shut things down really fast. I have to actually see why it is my son, my oldest one in particular, why he's acting aggressive, why he's acting so defiant, why he's doing this, and understand usually for him being a really strong-willed kid, having a very strong sense of self, which he's had since he was like, before he was 2. You can see, we saw this in him. It's just like he has to be assured, and he has to be assured that his value is being maintained, and that he's maintaining a certain level of, I guess, respectability. People are treating him. It's a sense that he has that, I'm valuable. Don't devalue me. Like, he understands he's a kid. But I think it's just since we've come over here and I've had to adjust some things, I've been able to take time to see this stuff. Before, I wouldn't notice that, okay, he's being like this because he feels like he's being devalued or his worth is being decreased in this circumstance. So he's reacting, out of fear, out of anger, and this is what's happening. So I have to go find a way somehow to target that root.
So it's almost like you were forced to slow down a little bit, and so you were able to kind of look at and that's brilliant. And I think that maybe that is an issue with us as American parents, is that we're just running go so fast, and everything's on the strict timeline. Maybe it's not that maybe it's a fact that we're not slowing down to try to understand our kids as much as we could be. Is that what you kind of mean there?
Yeah, absolutely. Where before, where I'm from in Indiana, all those families I'm around, everyone, they're all great parents, and we all love our kids. But it's just like, hey, go sit down over there. Why? Shut up. Don't ask me why you took us over to do it. I just told you. Just go sit down. I have my reasons. Just do it. And over here, it's I don't know what it is about the culture, but it's just the importance of everyone. I don't know if it comes with the socialism here. Everyone has to have a say-so. Everyone's got this equal input. So it's kind of like there's a lot of just kind of like taking time to hear out and reason. I'm not an expert. So people who are like, I'm Swedish and this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, you have to forgive me. I've only been here for about 1.5 years. But from what I can get is that I see that the people are much more calm and relaxed and easygoing than what I'm used to back home. And so it's something I had to learn. I'm still learning with it.
Yeah, I'll bet. It's got to be a culture shock, man. I can certainly imagine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's not all bad. I think it's helped my style a little bit.
Nice.
Like fashion sense,
Right.
Stockholm's full of beautiful people. You come over here with saggy jeans and a gray hoodie, you'll spruce yourself up a little bit.
That's great. I think that, I really appreciate that feedback, because I think that is something that as parents we could do just such a better job with, like really digging in and understanding our kids and molding them. I was talking to my buddy Dave the other day, and he was... Did I lose you?
Yeah, you lost me for a moment there, yeah.
Okay, but we're still good?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm good.
So my buddy Dave was watching my kids, and he came over, and one of the things that he said was, he didn't want to be too overbearing because they weren't his kids, and he was really seeking more to understand where they're coming from and parent from that style, versus at home when he'd be more like, do this now because I said so and I'm your dad. And, one of our earlier shows we talked about how we're not, our kids don't belong to us. They're kind of they come through us, and
Yeah.
we're more stewards of them than we are owners of them. And he by spending time with my kids, he kind of felt that, and he's like, well, why don't I treat my kids the same way? And I think that we're taught here that our kids more are like possessions as opposed to we're like stewards for them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Rockin', dude. Okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you tell me where we can find you? I'd love for our listeners to check out your podcast, leave your review on iTunes, build this thing up because it's so valuable, and I love what you're doing, and it's great family entertainment for kids who are a little bit older, younger and older, but who want to have a little more fun. And there's a couple booger jokes here and there, and so just some fun stuff. And if you could help us out finding you, that would be great, Steve.
Yeah, well, my website is raddaddybooks.com, and that's kind of like headquarters for everything. But on iTunes and Stitcher Radio, you can find me at the Rad Daddy Family Drive, and it's songs and stories for the road. If you think about it, it's like Yo Gabba Gabba meets This American Life for kids who are probably between the ages of 6 and 10. So those are the two influences I could think describe what I'm doing. But we just pick a topic and then we do a show. I make songs, I produce audio stories, and have interviews. And so yeah, that's what we're doing.
I loved the bubblegum episode. I thought that was just brilliant. It's a whole episode about bubblegum stories, songs, and it was just like, I was by myself. I didn't have my kids, and I was listening to it, and I'm like jamming down the road on my way to work, just having a blast.
Yes!
So it was really cool. So, Steve, thank you so much for your time today. I wish you the absolute best, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah, same. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Dad, could you tell us a story?
Welcome back, and I've got a great story for you here today. This is about a couple in South Carolina. So Larry Swilling, a 78-year-old South Carolina man, walked the streets with a sign asking strangers to donate a kidney to his ailing wife. Larry's wife, Jimmy Sue Swilling, 76 years old, first learned she was born with only one kidney when they tried to have children. Despite doctors' doubts that she would be able to conceive, Jimmy Sue gave birth to 3 beautiful children, but the possibility of needing a future transplant was never very far from mind. Last September, doctors confirmed Jimmy Sue's worst fears. She was going into kidney failure, and she was going to need a transplant. And she was put on a donor waiting list. However, Larry, or her husband, who is a truck driver, he had also been a volunteer firefighter, and he was worried that his wife was not going to find a donor in time. And so Jimmy was just distraught, and he didn't know what he was going to do, but he needed to figure something out. And Larry actually was talking to Yahoo, and he told them that the answer came to him in the middle of the night. He was just struck by what the thought that came to him. And so the next morning, without telling his wife, Larry purchased materials for a sign and made a sandwich board that read, "Need kidney for," the number 4, wife. And after getting off work early that day, Larry just pounded the pavement in his hometown of Anderson, South Carolina, wearing the sandwich board. And he said he walked 15 miles in 97-degree heat with torn cartilage in his knee. And people were offering him money, but he said, I don't want money. I don't need money. I want your kidney. And he said he was prepared to walk to Washington if he had to. And when a local news team stopped Larry for an interview, his story just went viral. And much to the surprise, it just blasted the internet. And after the news segment aired, Larry and Jimmy Sue's luck began to shift, and people from all over the world who wanted to donate started calling, and he received close to 2,000 calls after that walk, and he was so overwhelmed by the responses that he arranged to forward them to the Medical University of South Carolina, where Jimmy Sue was receiving treatment. And he said that if anything, they were just so happy that the story had motivated people to donate. And a few days later, Larry set out again, this time walking an astonishing 54 miles in one day. For extra measure, he made a few more signs and stuck them to his pickup truck. The news media got a hold of his son, Larry Jr., and these are some quotes from Larry Jr. about the situation. He said, "I heard my dad's plan when my mother called me and said, 'Your dad's on the street.' And he said, that day I brought him water because it was so hot. He's always been very resourceful. One year when he lost his job just before Christmas, he made sure that we still had lots of presents just like the other kids." And so the story goes on, and although the Swillings have no shortage of offers, they needed a donor with O-positive blood type. And of all these people that were calling, nobody matched until a 41-year-old woman from Virginia Beach read about the article and his sign online and offered her kidney. And it was a match. On Tuesday, Jimmy Sue and the donor will undergo a few more tests. The implant will take place on Wednesday, and the couple is looking forward to meeting Jimmy Sue's donor next week. He goes on to say, I have my wife, and that's the most important thing," said Larry, "and I'm amazed by the generosity of strangers. And if you're out there and you're one of those people who just feels like everything's negative and you come home and watch the news and it's just like nastiness all the time, remember that the news media their goal is to get ratings, and it's not always about what's really going on in the world. A lot of times it's about getting people to watch, and bad news seems to attract people. So if you're like me and you're tired of it, start looking for the positive in life. Go back and listen to our episode about the reticular activating system and how the brain works and what we can do to reprogram the mind to create more positive, to find more positive, to be more positive in the world. And let's make a difference. Let's flip it.
Are we there yet?
Thanks everybody for listening today. As always, it is my pleasure. Please visit us at iTunes. Leave your review there. This helps us leverage ourselves to create a greater listenership and reach more people with a positive message. And I will continue to keep you updated on the community garden as it unfolds, so we can begin to engage our communities, bring them together, and we'll start building them all across the state and the country. We're going to bring this baby back. How's that for a big, hairy, audacious goal? So again, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to speaking with Jack Levine with 4 Generations. He's an advocate for helping the youth understand the elderly and everywhere in between. So making sure that as a society and communities, we are engaged with one another. And this is what makes society great. So look forward to Jack Levine, David Wood from the Kick-Ass Life podcast, just an amazing guy, and Michael Eisen all over the next couple weeks. So we've got some great things to look forward to. We got Josh Taylor coming up soon with the Do Good Farm. So we are absolutely rocking and rolling here at Kick-Ass Dad, getting just a ton of stuff done and feeling truly great about it. So thank you for your support, and please share us with a friend. If you've got a particular episode you think somebody could benefit from, share us on Facebook, check us out on Facebook, and get involved in the game. All right, I'm gonna catch you on the flip. Thank you for listening to Kick-Ass Dad, and welcome to the movement. You can join us on our mission to create a bright future for the next generation by checking us out on Twitter. Go to @KickassDad1. Stay updated on upcoming interviews, products, and events. That's @KickassDad1. Sign up for the newsletter and check out our global mission at kickassdadblog.com. In the newsletter, we're going to share resources from me and our guest, weekly inspirations, interview summaries, and upcoming events. Check us out on Facebook for daily inspiration and community engagement. That's Kick-Ass Dad, 3 words, on Facebook. When on the page, please invite your friends to like it. Share CAD's message about creating a bright tomorrow for our children. If there's a particular episode of the podcast you liked, please share it with a friend. Keep an eye out for us on LinkedIn. You can check us out at CAD, K-A-D. Keep an eye out for the Kick-Ass Dad YouTube channel. This will be live before the end of the year. I would like to thank my partner Dave Pagan for his exceptional work in helping to make this podcast the success that it has become up to this point. I would like to welcome Jason Huey, our new partner and producer, to the team. You can expect a significant upgrade in format and quality of the podcast. Thank you, Jason. We'll be releasing a 1-hour best of the first 30 episodes on the website at the end of October. I am currently writing a book with our contributor Amy Alcini to be released next year. If you missed her interview, please check it out. We'll be doing a webinar and releasing our first 2 ebooks at the end of October in tandem with the launch of Kick-Ass Dad Personal Transformation Coaching Program. We are still looking for a couple more key volunteers and contributors. If you have web design skills, social media skills, book editing skills, or you just want to help out, please email kickassdad1@gmail, and Dave will schedule you a live chat with me via Skype. Make today your best day so we can create a beautiful tomorrow for our kids. I'm going to catch you on the flip.